is up? Welcome back to another Tree Talk. I think it's episode 12. I'm not positive, I think it's 12 though. So, yeah. Sorry I'm late, like always. I'm so. I'm always so far behind. Even though these, we did 100 or so live feeds last time in a row. And this streak, I don't know how long we'll make it, but I enjoy these so much more. They are so less stressful as the old ones, and it's like it's not as crazy. I usually take a bike ride right before this, which kind of chills me out and calms my nerves. Sorry, my phone just froze up. I usually take a motorcycle ride right before I do the live feed. Maybe go grab dinner or something. And back when I was doing them before, I think Tuesdays, yeah, it was madness. It was always crazy. And this is much more chill. So I appreciate everybody kind of transferring over with me and doing the Saturdays. And also, thanks for kind of letting me be able to do these a little later in the evening. That helps me out a lot. Doing them earlier on is kind of rough. What's up, Billy? Ground Pounder, what's up? Well, we got nothing but wrenches up in here. So, yeah, the wrench reminds me. I don't know if I should tell. Yeah, I'm gonna tell this one. Just the other day, on my way back from St. Louis, I got some yahoo tried running me off the road, and it got wild for a little bit. And then the next day, it happened again, but Jake was with me that time. And then then the next day, it happened to my cousin. My cousin one time ended up going to jail for quite a long time because somebody did that to him, and he threw a monkey wrench through their window. So, yeah, the wrenches reminded me of that. Sorry. I'm doing all right, Ground Pounder. How are you, brother? I'm not always sitting around YouTube Saturday at 9:30, but when I do, I watch You're the Man. Yeah, I appreciate it, brother. So, yeah, I don't really know how I'm gonna start this one. Here's something I'm also gonna do. I'll do some topics, then I'll do the trick. Show a tip trick. The tip trick I'm gonna show is when you get a long ways from a tie-in point and you want to be able to transfer back over. It's a neat trick to have. You don't need really anything, and you can actually use this as your full climbing system if you wanted, but it's just a good way to be able to transfer over. In the past few days, I've ran into a couple situations where it came in really handy, and yeah, it just figured I'd use this for a time to show that. I've been slammed with. Yeah, I haven't, and the only thing I got was not good. Like, I'm still on it, and that's where the thumbnail ends up coming from, because I I've never had this issue. I've never wanted to do a tree, and like set it for a certain amount of days, and I can't do it. It's never happened. I had asked Jake, and he's like, "Nah, dude, never. Usually we're before what we was intending." So, yeah, doing all right, Chris. How are you, Anthony? Well, dang it, Anthony. I think we give people enough time on a Saturday to get good and sauced, and then their insecurities get to rolling out, and we get a lot of them in here for some reason. But this little tool, this thing extends out like, I don't know, like 20 feet. It's crazy. This was a gift from Daryl. DQMC 08, I think was his, or 07 was his old channel, but I think the channel name now that he has is The Nation's Climber. And he's a really cool guy. I like him. Named Daryl. He's a good climber and makes some pretty good videos. But he sent me this, and it worked so good and has came in handy so many times. But it broke, and I put it back together one time with like what did I use? Oh, yeah, it's still all over it. It should be pretty obvious. I use JB Weld, and then I taped it, but it broke pretty quick. So I'm gonna use some super glue, and then maybe I'll try to JB Weld again later. But I'm gonna try to get it stuck in there with some super glue, and then JB Weld it, and then try to tape it again maybe or something. But I mean, even if it gets me out of that spot one time, and I have to do it again, it's worth it to me. It's a recommendation I would make for any person who climbs. Hopefully the chat is refreshing. I'm booked solid for a month and have hired 2 more guys. Oh, right on, brother. That's awesome. The chat is refreshing. Yeah. Yeah, it is what it is. Like, I don't mind people having a negative opinion. I just almost had it out with somebody. Well, I'm not doing that. Like, I had a really rough day. I woke up to some chaos. So, I'm pretty used to it. So, you can even leave some of them every once in a while just so I'm reminded to not let my head get too big. That's what the trolls do. They're like, yeah, you're nobody. Or the worst one is like, you're on drugs because you're not sickly, like overweight and sitting on your ass drawing a check from the state. So, but yeah, I can't believe I just got into that. That, who cares? Who did I just see? No storms here. Yeah, I seen you had some storms, Ground Pounder. So, while I get a rope out to do this, let's talk about knockoff chainsaws. This week, I believe Guilty of Treason put out another video. I think it was a knockoff 660. And pretty cool that he gives it away afterwards. I think that's really cool. So you got to go buy something at a store to be entered, but like every dollar you get a one raffle for it. So it's pretty cool. He gives us all away, but I figured I would give my opinion and my honest to God opinion on knockoff chainsaws. And I would think most people are probably going to have a predetermined opinion of my opinion, which, because I go all the way, I'm steel all the way. I say whatever gets it done for you is what you should use. You know, I'm not too proud or stubborn to admit that there could be another good chainsaw out there, and I feel like sometimes people just they're that stubborn that they just can't even admit that. But to each their own. But we are going to do this little trick first. So, in this massive, what it is a shingle oak. It is enormous. It has a split that is about this wide in some sections. It's held together with 2 chains, and it's like I couldn't get maybe 2 of me. I could get my arms around the base. I don't think so though. But a hog of a tree. It's split and it's held together, but it had already, when a tree gets fully matured to the point that it's like maxed out on height and growth and everything, they start to get this thing called rounded head syndrome, and it almost looks like it droops. Well, it does droop, but they call it rounded head syndrome. The tree will no longer, it will get limited height, but it will become extremely wide. And a lot of branches will start growing from, we're vertical, they got so much stress on them, they're almost horizontal. then they become under an insane amount of stress. And where if a limb was straightforward, it would cause stress on the tree with wind. But straight up and down is causing compression into the tree, and it's not causing tension or stress. So when the tree gets so big that the branches just start to grow over and it gets rounded head syndrome, that's where they get sketchy, and that's what I believe pulled this tree apart. So I was talking to him last week because he is over the tube. Really? What were you talking about? Bridge burner? Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, and sometimes you just definitely need a break. So, let's do the trick tip. Some people show up here and probably watch my video for the trick tip. So, trick tip. I have two stems here. Can I show you this? And I have to pull you guys back, so I'm probably not gonna be able to keep up with chat as much from here, but we'll still try. So here we go. We have one rope, okay, and you would have a climbing device, whatever it may be. We'll use the gree here, and usually you have some carabiners. I always carry multiple carabiners on me because I can use them either to hold stuff or I always find a reason to use it. So one thing I take on every single climb, I have my chainsaw, I have a backup climbing system, which I always put the gree on because it's quick, easy, and simple to do. And then I have 3 speed line straps always for either redirects or for rigging if I need in a pinch. And then I keep quite a few carabiners, like 3 or 4 extra ones. And that's where this ends up coming in handy. So what would happen a lot of times, this tree was almost as wide as it was tall. So I would get way out on one side and then need to transfer. I was so far from my tie-in point that part was sketchy. But what I would usually do, since I would be a long ways from my tie-in point, we'll anchor to this one. And if I got nervous, there were multiple ways. If I'm starting to get sketched and I'm worried about, swinging all the way back to that tie-in point, that's when I would, if I'm SRT, I would probably just reach behind me, grab one of them speed line straps. Dang it, son. Is that it? Right there, okay. So I grab one of these speed line straps if I was tied in, and I would just set a redirect real quick with this. But you can't leave that redirect because if you do, you've got to go back. That's the issue with the redirect. You can do some retrieval or some releasing ones. I don't really trust a lot of those. But so I'm tied in with the gree over to there, and I ended up getting over to here on this one. So normally I would just take it, throw it around, and I would clip into that. That way, if for some reason while I was up here something happened, I slipped, I would go straight back to my redirect instead of, oh my god. I used a heavy rigging carabiner to do this. Not a smart move. It's pulling the rope down every time. Okay, so if I was to slip, I'd go all the way back, I'd slam into that. Well, if I run the redirect, I'm able to work here if I need. And if I get above that tie-in point, I almost run a redirect below it if I don't have one up above. And I would rather have it down there. If I was to slip or something was to happen, I'm only going to go to there. So sometimes I'll even go above this and I'll just release some down and use my lanyard for a lot of positioning. But here's where, in this one, I couldn't leave this, and I needed to go back, and it was a long ways back. So here's what I did. And I do this a lot. I've done this for quite a long time. And this is basically, you're just getting back to the old school. I mean, it's very, very simple. and you don't need anything else. So you're up there. I would pull my tail of my rope up. Let's take this redirect off because we didn't have this. So we were hooked up, and it would have been a long ways back. So I pull my tail up, got a hold of it, and because this is life support, and this isn't life support technically on this. We're just transferring ourselves back. I just take the rope. I get about, I don't know, over an arm's length of rope, and I tie a double overhand knot because it's quick and simple and works good for this. Okay, so if I was going to be climbing on this for a while, I would use something different, okay, for the knot, but I don't need to. So I would take this, I would click in a carabiner. Now I would take it, I would throw it over that fork, and I would probably do all of this tying the knot and everything after I threw the rope over the fork. I got it back. I would tie the knot, clip the carabiner in, then I would tie myself, clip in with the carabiner, and now I got this tail. And I used to climb on a taut line, and all we used to use was 2 under and 1 over. And we used 2 under, 1 over, and I wondered this for a while. I couldn't figure out, like, why does it slip so much now, but when I was younger and I climbed, it didn't slip. Well, we used to use much softer ropes, and now I have like SRT ropes, and they're much stiffer. Okay, so we set that up, and we dress it big time, and you have to dress this knot or it'll come loose. If you can, you want to try to tie a stopper knot. On this one, I would say 2 under and then 2 over would probably be the smarter bet. So let's do that. Okay, so after you set that up, I usually do the 2 under, 1 over. It's really quick, but it's a bit touchier, which I kind of like. I like the action in it. So then I would just tighten this one up big time, and I would start to let this out. And if I can tighten this one to bring myself over, I would do that. I would let this out, I would tighten up, I would let this out, and I would, instead of going all the way down to the base, climbing all the way back up the other stem, I would transfer myself all the way over to this stem. Then real quick, and as simple as you put it on, you take that off, put your carabiner on you, put that knot off there real quick, get your double overhand knot out, pull your rope back, and then you're already back over here, and you're working off this again. And you could use that trick a million times throughout the tree. And as long as you're efficient and somewhat quick tying the taut line, or you use a Blake's hitch, whatever it is you want to use, it'll be super quick. It's effortless of a setup. You don't need anything extra, and it'll get the job done. So I found myself using that technique multiple times, and so if there's any questions, I would think most of the people that are watching are gonna probably know this already. So, and if you said something and I wasn't able to see the camera, if you could say it again, that would be awesome. Okay, especially if you wanted to know something. But yeah, that technique works really good, and if you wanted to, you could climb off that. That's the same setup that I climbed on my entire life until I was, I don't know, I was probably 30 before I ever started messing around with SRT stuff. Maybe I was 29, 28, who knows. Getting your butt kicked for storm work? Dang, man. But that technique, like I said, very nice to have and good, simple to use. And I used it repeatedly. But, like, I'm bummed on the fact that I couldn't get this done. Like, I feel like I have yet to feel like I'm not in my prime when it comes to this. Even though with my accident, I still felt like I'm still in my prime. I don't feel like I lost a step. I maybe are, I'm not as careless and like reckless with the amount of weight and stuff that I'll rig sometimes, but sometimes I am still. Um, and that probably changed from, what happened. So, any tips on pulling a pine top when working alone? Yeah, a little trick you could use, man. So, are you a proficient climber though? Because I don't want to give you this if you're not used to climbing. Have you climbed enough? And welcome, John. I didn't even see your first comment. John Dread 13. Are you? You've climbed for some time. Like you're proficient at climbing, right? Yes, very climbing. Okay, perfect. So what I would do, bud, is sometimes what you could do is you cut your notch and you're set up. Let's see if I can set this thing over here. Use it. Oh no. So I'll use a lot of times. I'll use like a speed line strap, but you got to have a pretty small top to be able to do that. But what I would do is when you're up there and like say we were going to take this top, I would be hooked in and I would throw my strap up as high as I could get it. This is going to require you to maybe one hand for a second, but throw a little rope up here or the rope works good. Sometimes you can go and just pick a branch. First put your notch, get it in there, get positioned good, start your back cut. And first, before you do any of that, get something set and pull on it from where you're at. And see, am I starting to get movement? Is it starting to move a little bit? Am I getting anything out of this? Because you can test it. Get up there, get the strap where you want it, and then give it a little tug and start to give it a little wiggle. Is it moving? If it's moving, you can go put your notch in, start to make your back cut, and then you may have to finish one hand or make the cut. If it's leaning, you almost have to do that, but you can maybe make the cut if it's straight enough and then be able to put your saw up, reach to grab the strap, and then pull it over. And let the strap go. As it goes over, let it go. Or you can do like I do a lot of times, and I will dog leash a top, and I would just hang it. The way I look at it is the tree able to hold this top right now? Did we miss? Oh, Peter showed up. What's up, brother? Let me catch up on a couple comments. So. Yeah, you get what I'm saying there? And here's another trick. So the way I look at this, is this land, or if I have a choice, I'll rig it to something even stronger. But the way I look at dog leashing, and this is one of my favorite techniques, something I've done for a long time. And I first got to doing it out of a bucket truck. But it worked also when I got into climbing. So I would set a clip up on the limb. Or first, if I was doing this whole top here, what I would do is I would maybe set the strap if I still have room, but I would put a notch right here. I would cut myself a good notch in there, and I put a notch right here. Make some color on that way you can kind of see, because this kind of stuff is important. So you can see that line. So the crotch on this thing is like, it's down a little ways here. So I would make my notch here, cut in, cut on top. I would hook the strap up, try to find a little nub to put it above if you can, or take your saw and make some little notches in it so it gets some friction right there. If you have a long enough strap, I would suggest maybe wrapping it twice so you can put it in a bite, especially when you're dealing with something that really doesn't have, like you're dealing with a straight chunk of wood. The chance of it being able to slip off is a lot better than when you're doing something that's got a fork. So you would set that up, wrap it twice around. Then I would put my notch. Then I would come back with the other end of the rope. You don't need 2 carabiners for this. And the carabiners need to be strong enough to be able to do this. You got to think of that. Maybe shackles. Use shackles. But you could set it up. It doesn't need to have, I'm going to take this off because it doesn't need 2 carabiners. You need 1. You set the first one up, wrap it twice. After you wrap it twice, then with the leftover this, the reason I say to put the notch is because I face these and I put the strap coming down in front of the notch. That way I can make my cut and the strap is nowhere near where I'm doing the cutting. It's still hot out here. Man, that point on the strap like that is a safety issue and gets caught in that strap. Could be bad. Yeah, I mean, or you hold it on the outside. Don't take a chance in getting your hands caught in the strap. Like you don't have to like put your hand all in it, but I put a carabiner on it or whatever. If you're using the same strap, take that spot and put a little tape around it. That way your fingers can't get caught in it. Put a little tape right there and then start grabbing it there. You know, I don't see that being as much a safety precaution as like the damn chainsaw as much or slipping or this carabiner's got to be strong enough. So you make your notch, and I want to put the notch first with this knot there so that I'm not hitting it in the process. Now I want to hook up, and you'll see after this is hooked up, you hook up below where you're going to make your cut on the stub. So now it's hooked up. You want to make sure the gate's up because when it locks in, it's going to be on the spine. Now I'm able to make my cut, and none of the straps is in the way. If you set stuff the other way, the strap would be in your way trying to cut. But this way, it's completely out of the way. You make this cut, that comes down, boom, hits there. You take a bit of a ride, you take a wiggle, but then you can go down, climb down, and dice that piece up while it's hanging. And then you'll have a little nub that's left over. You grab it, throw it off. Or sometimes what I'll do is I'll put this on a nub, cut it, like say it's out over a house, I'll cut it and hang it, then I'll cut the nub off and the whole thing falls down. But it falls next to the trunk as opposed to way out over the house like it originally was. So I hope that helps, John. Yeah, definitely. You know, I've done some stuff that's probably not the best idea to do, like using the tail of your climb line as like a tag line to pull something over, but instead of getting a whole nother rope out, it's right there, you're like, use my climb line. And yes, danger is the game, for sure. Anyone have any experience with Bobcat MT100? No. Yeah, okay, right on, John. Yeah, that always works. So if, like, setting up a little rope doesn't work, a little rope would be really nice because you could take this rope and have, like, a throw ball with you. Take this rope up. Not in the bottom, so it can't come out. And then you're able to take and throw that up over limbs and set it. And then if you put it like that, you can just put that up. So there's many different ways to do it. You just kind of got to get a little crafty and just think like, what would work? Like the dog leashing thing. You don't have space, and it would work if it was in more. So what you're doing is you're just repositioning it so that you can process it in a location that works. That's rigging. That's rigging. I don't care if you're doing the dog leash thing. You know, if you're pulling it over and you're trying to cut that right angle to fight against the lean, and it's all rigging. And that's my favorite thing about it. Like, I think I like the rigging aspect more, even more than I like climbing. And I love to climb trees, but rigging the trees out and coming up with the rigging system that gets that job done is so fun to me. I enjoy it. I enjoy working the angles of the tree to get the most out of it. So, um, let me catch up on comments. I do so many things that should scare the crap out of me, and my heart rate remains the same. It's a little scary. Yeah, yeah. I've been there though. I mean, you think about it afterwards, some of the things that I've just always noticed that like getting freaked out has never helped me at any point up there. So I always do try to stay completely chill and calm as much as I possibly can and keep that heart rate down, which is hard to do because you're doing strenuous, manual labor. But you try to keep that heart rate down because I think clearer when I'm not gasping for air, and that's the thing I need more than anything. I need a clear mind to be able to think clearly about the things that are going to keep me alive and get the task done. Not, the fight that I had with my wife, which I'm not saying that, but a lot of guys, the fight you have with your chick, or you know, a bill that you're behind on, or there's just trying to shut all that stuff out and being able to focus. That's why I think I like all that stuff, and that's when I truly kind of tune those things out. Is when I'm in that complicated rigging scenario. So. Well, we all have done super sketchy stuff that we don't. 100%. Yeah. I'll tell you about it though. What's up, Dan K? Yeah, jump to skydive. Ground Pounder is our skydiver here. He gets her done. You guys think you get high. Ground Pounder gets her done. Sure, throw ball on a figure 8. I've thought of setting a line on a trucker's hitch from the ground and then going up. Um, Also, if you have somewhere to throw it, uh, the biggest tips I could give you is that what you're looking for, John? Like, are you looking to be able to hit a target with it? Because a lot of that is going to be your positioning while you're climbing, making your notch, being on the side, making sure you got a perfect notch that's going to go the right direction that you want. Maybe scribing it a little bit so you know that your back cut's going to be dead on. Getting on the backside, starting your cut, making sure it's straight, cutting through, and then getting behind and pushing. The issue with getting behind and pushing is being prepared to roll to one side or the other if something was to go wrong and that limb comes back on you. You've got to think really quick and get twisted around there so that that doesn't come back. That's the thing that scares me about pushing tops over is if something goes wrong and you're under the lean, that can get pretty sketchy. So, and making sure you don't cut through your hinge. But at the same time, you may, depending on how tall it is, you don't want to leave. There's just so many variables. A 100% ground pounder. That's one. I feel like when I had my accident, that was my biggest issue. Is my mind. I didn't have a clear mind. I was trying to micromanage too many things while doing one of the most dangerous jobs in the world, which just sounds absolutely stupid when I say it out loud, but it's what I did. When I can't even tell you what happened, like how it happened. I have no clue because I was knocked out. So Ground Powder City, Jump Sunday. Up to 4 now. Right on, brother. I just got a lot of heavy ass tall red pines to remove. And just thinking of ways to do more stuff without a guy. Yeah, I mean, being comfortable enough to, you can push probably 90% of them tops over, working the spar, being able to do spar work is a very important aspect of tree work, and I think a lot of guys maybe don't realize that till they get stuck in that position a lot of times, because they've went up and they've climbed trees and took a few limbs out, but you still have all the rest of the tree to get comfort and tie in and hold on to. When you get on that straight, when you get onto a pole and it's just the top left, that's when you're looking for little tricks like a positioning trick that you can't slip, like doing the what do they call that? The tree squeeze with your lanyard, where you wrap around and put it in a bite. So then you can't go side to side, and you're comfortable cutting. But a lot of times you want to have the option to go side to side, because of, you can have something come back on you, and you want to be able to move. You don't want to sit there and eat it. But a lot of times I will just choose the dominant hand, and I'll be turned a little bit to that way. Or if it's more predictable which kind of direction, I would just kind of go to the other. But well, I mean, you could set up a speed line setup, but dog leashing and even pushing tops over, you're gonna take a ride, because as you push that top over, it holds on, and then when it lets go, it actually pushes the tree, and you'll go for, depending on how tall it is, you can go for quite the ride. So I get down. I'm a very proficient climber. I know exactly what you're trying to say. Yeah, right on. Sure, it pushes back. Yeah. Yeah, so, I mean, being able to, some guys are really, really, really good at doing tops. And they're just so good at it. It blows my mind. I would probably rig it, but you need a ground guy a lot of times to rig something. Or you need a setup with enough friction that it rides its way down. Like, if you could, there's a way to rig things out here. Here you go, John. I got one more trick for you. You could rig the top down by yourself with no hardware, no nothing. And you could let it go whatever direction it kind of wanted. But what I would suggest is just old school rigging, which a lot of times doesn't even seem right until like you see it work. But it's like, wow, that is so simple. So what I would do there, up through, then I would go and tie me a knot here. I'm just going to tie it. So now that's set up to rig, and as it goes over, you could be on that side holding the rope over here, and as it goes over, it comes down, crashes. This, now you have to remember this part, which is the part on the limb, you want it under your rope. If it's over the top of your rope, with your control end, then when it comes, if it's over the top, when it comes down, it's going to pinch your rope and you can't lower it. But if it's under it, now you're set up, you cut, it swings over, it lands here, and now your rope goes around, it goes right there, and under your rope and down. So that simple little rigging technique is almost, it's almost obsolete these days. Um, I've seen guys use that technique and just make little notches in the tree because it's a straight pole. So they would cut like a little notch here and cut a little notch on the other side for the rope to set into around it, and then do it that way. Or cut a little notch on the back at an angle so it rides in like a little nook in the tree. So I feel like I really like pointing those old tricks out because I feel like a lot of the new guys, it's so complicated, some of the stuff that's out there and the gear, that they almost are forced to skip the basics to get a somewhat a somewhat like manageable understanding of all the new stuff. Like it's a full-time job. So I feel for the new guys because they're missing, a lot of times they're missing that that core, all them core lessons that will come back and help you 1,000 times over, and you realize it as it's happening. It's like, wow, that just saved me, or that just saved me. You drop something like tying up and doing that transfer. I could have done that setup without a carabiner. I didn't have to have a carabiner. I could have tied knots and then tied it off, but carabiner made everything clean. Everybody's usually got a carabiner or a clip, so that's the reason I did that as an example. Ooh, shoot. He does with the nubs. Yeah, yeah, just like Billy does. Yep. Yeah, that technique is really nice, and you don't have to hold that. You could just let that ride and go down. It's gonna smoke. Keep your fingers away from it. Like, don't get any parts of your body in there because it's gonna get to traveling, but it's gonna travel straight down, and it can't go out anywhere. But you're probably gonna take a little bit of a ride. You just gotta think. I got my lights all on, so bugs are all flying in here now. Dang it. Maybe I can see if I can cut one of these lights off and it's still. It's still light. Yeah, that's light enough. So I'm just gonna talk with you guys for a little bit longer. Anyway. Dang, what the heck was that? Somebody just leave. Y'all take care. Hey. Ground Pounder, thanks for hanging out, brother. Stay safe. Appreciate you. So, I had a few topics. And oh, here's something I'm gonna do. I should have said this at the beginning. I am gonna do. A lot of people watch these videos that don't comment. But if you do tree work and you have a channel, I want to feature a channel each time. Like, here's who I've been watching. So, leave a comment. Let me know you have a channel. Like, that's all you have to do. Be like, check my channel out or whatever. You don't even have to leave me a link. I'll go watch it. I'll go watch something and we'll kind of try to draw a bit of attention to some of the newer channels that are out there and kind of give a helping hand. This week, I would say probably my favorite video was Meta Spencer. And for those of you who don't know Meta Spencer, Spencer's really he's almost a genius in the way that he thinks of things. He simplifies. He's very smart, very hands-on, very crafty. Like I feel like he does everything himself instead of hiring it out. Like he does everything. And he does all the climbing, all the rigging, all the cleanup. He never has anybody. So he's always by himself. So there you go, John. There's an awesome reference source. You want to learn from a guy who deals with being alone all the time to do tree work? That is Meta Spencer. And He is very good at it. He has mastered a couple techniques that I haven't seen others like master to this extent. He does the solo retrievable rigging, and I had done videos on that, and then I noticed his, and I was amazed at like how more in depth he was on it, and how big of stuff he was doing, how quick he was doing it. So that's a guy who I would pick his brain. He definitely doesn't need a shout out from me. So I did this one this week. I did. So Meta Spencer doesn't need any help. His channel is much bigger than mine. But if you're not subscribed to him, go over and check him out. He's pretty entertaining, pretty funny guy, and he's always doing something with tree work or work around like the house sometimes. He does all kinds of stuff, but mainly tree work, and he's very good at it. And he just simplifies it to the point that as one guy he can do it. So, yes, I've seen his solo retrievable rigging, and it's awesome, dude. Has a good channel. Yeah, he's a smart guy. He's a really smart guy. So, yeah, I think there's no number. It's just Meta Spencer. That's Metaspencer, just like it sounds. I watched Josh Mans tell a story about being sideswiped by a crack hoe or something. Like, I don't know. He's crazy. He says some stuff that I wouldn't dare. Like, maybe he can get away with it. I couldn't though. I know for a fact. But yeah, he's a wild dude. Schroeder just put one out. It was pretty good. I liked it. I'm trying to think of what it was. I know I always like Jeff's stuff. Oh yeah, he got a block. He said he got it from the antique store. It was a CMI block. It was pretty old though, but those old blocks were made. When I say block, I mean a pulley. They were made very good. So he was using it to do a bit of tree work. Who else? What else do I got? Should I pour my father-in-law's Craftsman chainsaw? He gave it to me to repair. Dude, that's crazy. My neighbor's Craftsman, it's like brand new. It won't work. Like it ran one time, then all of a sudden it just stopped working. And now it won't start. And I feel like it's not getting any gas, but he says it is. Matt Spencer is good people and very skilled. Yes. Yeah, he is. Smart guy. So, I want to do a featured channel every week. I will even try to put it towards like the beginning of the video. And me talking with you guys is always the ends. But, try to do like a bit of news stuff. Like, as far as YouTube. And that's what we're doing now. And I would like to, at one point during each live feed, give a channel a shout out. But I need enough time to be able to watch a few of your videos. I mean, I don't want to start pushing people to, somebody who is a nutcase and like some wild serial killer or something. I don't know. But, yeah, I need a little time to be able to watch a few of them. And, I can maybe draw some attention to your channel, give you a bit of traffic, and I don't have a whole lot of notoriety here, but what I got I can share. So leave them in the comments, let me know. I don't have anything other than that. I wonder if I have. I have a billion other tricks, but I need to save some of them so that I have one for as long as we keep doing these live feeds. Or I would just spend every live feed just giving the tricks away as I think of them. Like, oh yeah. And that's usually how it works. Usually I'm doing one, like doing a tree, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh shoot, that's a good trick. I should show that on the live feed. And that's usually how I decide what trick I end up showing during the live feeds here, that's usually what does it. Because I can't ever pick what to do, so. Also, just like John did, I really, really, really appreciate this kind of stuff. If you have something that you would like to talk about or a subject you want me to kind of put a bit of focus on, let me know. I'm always looking for different stuff to do for the channel. And I don't want to do stuff that you guys don't want to see. I mean, I like making videos, but it's not like I'd rather just go inside and hang out with my wife if they're not going to get viewed. But I enjoy the fact that I can kind of help people a lot of times with this. And it gives me a bit of purpose, and I don't just waste all the knowledge that I've kind of put together. And it helps somebody, so. Plus, I feel like I've met probably some of my closest friends that I have. That's pretty sad. I'm not a people person much. I've met a lot of them. A lot of my internet friends and YouTube friends are some of my closest friends, which is a bit antisocial on my part, but it is what it is. That's who I am. Yeah, I've put this one together a couple times. He put such an amazing... Check out this handle that he put on it. He tied that up, and that thing is so perfect to clip on to your saddle and hang. This thing compacts pretty low. I mean, it's pretty small. That'll go even further, but I got it super glued right now. So, what I think I'll do is I'll use like some like heavier duct tape maybe, but I want to hit it with super glue one more time and fill that crack completely. I don't even know if I have any more JB Weld, but if I do, maybe I JB Weld it one more time. But what I was going to say, dang it, I totally forgot. Earlier in the video, when I told you guys, if you don't have a telescoping hook like this, and then I never told you what tool to have. Every tree guy, at some point, buys a damn pole pruner. That's just what we do. A telescopic pole pruner, and we use it, and it breaks. And then we're like, dang, now I got another one sitting around. What I do is I take the blade off, like the saw blade, then I take the pruning blade, when it stops working or it's bent or something, and I break everything off that until it's just a hook. Then I keep that in the truck, that way they can send it up to you and you can retrieve ropes, or you can set ropes out on like a rotten tree, or, you know, if you want to pull something over, you set the rope up above you with it. Have you seen that rollout pole that rock climbers use? No. It just rolls. What the heck? Really? No, I've never seen that, John. That sounds wild. It just rolls out. That's funny. Here's another tool I made. This is a grapple hook that I had for a while. And the issue with it, it always sets in there good. But the issue with it, I like the way it's designed. I would tie in out here on the side as tight as I can get it. That way when I go to flip it, the weight for it, if you can get it around, it wants to fall off. If you can wiggle it loose, all the weight up here almost wants to roll it off the limb, always. Because it's much thinner down here. But this setup used to be a stationary lanyard. It was a rope. It had a regular clip on one end, and it had this thing with this gate that went right here on this. So I cut the gate out, the little flapper piece, and then did a bit of a grind right there at the base to smooth everything out. And yeah, then I had a grapple hook. It's got some weight to it, so it's really nice to throw. But the issue with it's a bit small, so it's gonna have to be very kind of small limbs. Uh, but what you can do sometimes is throw it up over a limb and then let it. Here's a like a trick that I'll use with it is I'll throw it up over a limb and then just let it swoop back to me and hook the rope. So you can do that, and that helps sometimes. But you would just swing it until it finally hooked on the rope and goes, you know, up, or throw it over a limb when you kind of flip it till it comes back down to you, and then hook it. Oh, you can't even see any of this. My bad. I'm so sorry. So I throw it up over a fork, and then get that kind of swinging and try to hook the rope like that and anchor it up so that it should hold. But a lot of times if the limb's too like big and this won't really hook onto it, won't go over it, I'll let the rope come down. I'll throw it through the crotch I want. I'll let the rope come down and I'll just hook it onto a different limb. Then I'll go up here, and if I need to, when I'm above it, I can just let it down a little bit, release it, and because it's got the weight, pull it back up, throw it up over another one, then maybe hook it somewhere else. So a grapple hook's a really good little tool to have, and you can make your own. But I would always say never let this be your life support. Make sure that it's always secondary, and that you're using it to advance. Um, and whether it's like you're tied in here, or once again, whether it is that you're tied in here and you throw this up here to get up here, leave your tie in until you get up there, undo that, bring it up, tie it in, then retrieve this thing. Don't ever, try not to use a grapple hook for your life support. Not always the smartest thing because they can pop off and come off, so. Oh shoot, sorry. Comparison of chains, full comp and full skip, full chisel, semi-chisel. Yeah, I don't really know. I mean, except for I understand by the naming of it, the difference that you're going to see. A full comp chain is going to be a ton of teeth around it. The teeth are so close together. A semi-skip is every other one, or every two or every three, has a skip tooth on the chain. Uh, then a full skip tooth has a skip tooth every time. So I don't stray from, I use full comp usually, and because I do a lot of hardwoods, and I feel like skip tooth a lot of times, unless you're having to rip wood, a full comp seems to work better for me. But if I was ripping wood or I was in a bunch of softwood, I would probably use a skip tooth. The reason the skip tooth works good for like milling, ripping wood, is because the gap that's in between the teeth allows the sawdust to exit. There's so many teeth on a full comp, when you rip a log, the noodles or the sawdust becomes noodly, very long. So as it goes to go around and it would spit it out the bottom, another tooth grabs a hold of it before it has a chance to exit. So having so many teeth, when you're trying to rip something with like a full comp chain, it will get bound up, and your clutch will be locked up with sawdust, and you got to pull it all out. The skip tooth would allow the room for the sawdust to exit and not take as much sawdust, as the full comp, because every time a tooth hits, it's taking a little bit. So I would think a full comp chain should always beat a skip tooth, but I don't know. I don't know. My common sense would tell me if they're both sharpened the exact same, the more teeth that hit it, if one rotation of the blade on a skip tooth gives you 10 hits, 10 teeth hitting, and a full comp gives you 20, it's got to cut faster. So I don't know. I think the skip tooth stuff for me personally, I think a lot of that's a like a fad. Like the YouTubers that are out there use them, Buckin, Guilty. I think a lot of it's a fad. So unless you're using it for milling or ripping logs, because when you're ripping logs, when I say ripping logs, you cut wood normally like this. Well, if you cut it like this, the sawdust completely changes. You get long, stringy, like spaghetti noodles of sawdust, as opposed to little chunks of sawdust like you would get like this. It's because you're no longer cutting with, like you're cutting with the grain as opposed to against it. So you're just, I don't know how to explain it. I'm not a rocket scientist or like I don't know everything about chainsaws, but that's just my understanding of it. This is the rollout. Hold on. That's crazy. Full skips works better on long bars. Right on. Skip tooth will allow you to throw a longer bar on a weaker saw also, if needed in a pinch. Yeah, and the reason for that is because less teeth. That makes absolute total sense. I was curious about why you would want that, but be able to stand up or to make a stump cut and get in some bigger wood. That makes sense. That does make sense because that clutch is going to make a rotation and it's going to move that chain at a certain speed no matter what. So if there's too many teeth and a chain doesn't have enough power, it's not going to work. But if you can lessen those down a little bit, that makes total sense. Man, I have to shut this door. I have so many bugs in here. Dang. Can't believe I let it get this bad before I stop. Now I'm going to have to like hunt them down and get them out of here. But yeah, Nico. And thanks for hanging out, Nico. Nico D. But I don't mess with skip tooth at all. Never have. Yeah, that's like I said. If you're doing milling, it's a really good idea. It gives time for that sawdust to exit. But or if you're messing in a lot of softwoods, it seems to you can do a very aggressive sharpen on it, and it will cut when you're dealing with that skip tooth for some reason. I think that's all I really had for this tree talk, guys. Yeah, I'm struggling, and I'm gonna go back up Monday. I have two very, very big tops left, and then I'm gonna try to, like the guy didn't, the tree's loaded with the chain originally. He didn't want to lose the tree, but it had to be just, he wanted to just leave a stump. That's like, or just a log for some reason. I don't understand it. That's what he asked, and so that's what's being done. But couldn't couldn't. It's just so big. It's so big. So good night, everybody, and have a blessed weekend. Billy, you are the man. Thanks for holding down the law. Ground Pounder, also thank you for moderating. Yeah, if you guys have anything, check out that link I sent in the chat. It didn't, John. I don't think YouTube will let you send a link. It just says link, and then there's a little star, and that's all it says next to your comment. I don't think you can send a link in these. But if I see one in my comment section, if you leave a comment on any video, it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be the newest video. If you're watching one of my videos and you leave a comment, my studio gives me your comment depending on when you left it, not on what video. So if you leave a comment on any video and maybe put the link on it, I'll get it. I'll go in my studio and I'll be able to see that you left me a link. But guys, thanks for hanging out again. This was another fun live feed. I wasn't very prepared, but I stumbled my way through it. Roll out polling. Roll out polling. I gotta check that out. I'm gonna check that out, John. That's it, guys. I'm gonna head out. I'm gonna go inside. My dog's probably losing his mind. They're shooting off fireworks, but I appreciate you guys. Thanks for hanging out, and I will get you on the next one. Stay safe. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And have a good, safe week next week. See you guys.